guys, welcome to another episode of The Summer of Me. We are doing Q&A today. I've done a couple of these, I think, and it is always so fun to see like what questions you guys come up with. There were some bangers this week. I'm not gonna lie. People asked some good questions. There was a couple that I am not willing to answer. Maybe we'll get there. You guys are really, really fucking nosy, okay? Everybody wants to know the tea on everything. And while I'm sure a lot of you guys can fill in the blanks about breakups and relationships and things that used to be that are no longer and all of it, like you fill in the blanks. Usually go Carmen Sandiego. Go fuck yourself, Carmen Sandiego. I'll talk about some of those things at some point, but today we're going to answer some other random Q&A. So if your question didn't get answered, it's because you're too fucking nosy. No, just kidding. Sorry. So many F-bombs to start out this Thursday. Okay. There was actually so interesting. I have not had this before on my Q&A. There was a lot of questions about like influencer life and like spending and like content and all these things. I don't know. We may eventually do like a full episode, but I picked a couple of them to answer because apparently you guys are curious. Let me just make it really clear. I am by no way, shape, or form like a qualified influencer, so to speak. Like there are people that have way more followers than me and way more brand deals and all these things. So this is my experience, as everything is on the podcast. Like I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a chiropractor. I'm just purely a lady. Anyways, but I will talk to you about my experience as like an influencer in like the content creation world. I actually don't tell people I'm an influencer because I find it embarrassing, but I really shouldn't, because honestly, like you can make a hell of a living doing that. And I more so say like, I'm a designer. I'm a graphic designer. That's what I went to college for. That happens to create content on the internet. I just overshare. I'm honestly mostly an overshare online. And that is number one, the secret to being an influencer. Okay. How to create content for somebody who has never done it before. Here's what I will say about this. A couple things. Consistency is the name of the game. If you are only showing up once a week, people are going to give zero fucks about anything that you're doing. So you have to, number one, if you're creating content, like showing up every single day is the only thing that is going to get you potentially traction. Like you might have, let's just say like even you have one video that like makes you go absolutely viral. Like you're still going to have to create content past that point. Like you look at any like, you know, big TikTok person or even like the girls on Instagram or whatever, like they're creating content incessantly every single day. Now, how do I do that? Like, how do I figure out what to create or, you know, what format and all those things? This is really like so individual for every person. But here's what I have kind of figured out for my own experience. I, at some point, and like this evolves and changes often, but like I try to come up with like, what are my content pillars? And at this point in my life, it's shifted more into like, what are my financial levers? So like, what are the things that I know I can use to monetize my social media? And then I fill in all of the rest of it with just like, again, oversharing and just like random parts of my life and like occasionally my kids and things like that. So if you have not done like a kind of a workshop, so to speak, not like an actual workshop, but like just workshopped yourself, get out your notes app. It's my next, actually, you guys, my next tattoo might be like the little notes icon. That would be iconic. But start figuring out like, okay, who am I? What am I about? What do I want to share about online? Like for me, some of my content pillars, like I share about like divorce and relationships, and I've monetized that by turning it into a podcast. I share about home design and like fashion. I've monetized that by turning it into like having an LTK following and sharing links and affiliate links and all that kind of stuff. Those are two of my content pillars. I think just like figuring out like, what do I like? What are the things that I love sharing about? And how can I make a presence like with all of those things? So you look at your account, let's say it's on Instagram, and you're like, okay, I have these 5 pillars. Well, I'm just going to do mine. I have my family. I have my podcast. I have all the things that I buy for my home. I have all the things that I buy for like fashion. Those are like 4 things that I consistently see. And then I have Arbonne, like my network marketing business. Those are like my 5 things that I consistently share about. So if you go to my social media on any given day, you will see at least 2 of those happening. And part of it, again, is because I monetize that content. But the other part of it is like, that's my brand presence. And so If you go into Starbucks, like they're going to have pastries, they're going to have coffee, they're going to have music, they're going to have merch. Like those are their things. And like, if you walk into the Starbucks, you're going to see all of those things. If somebody finds you online, like what is your presence and like, what is it about? And they should know automatically. And so as far as creating content around those, for me, like something that I do every single month is I make a list of all the days in the month with the days of the week next to them. And I write out content ideas for every single day. Do I always get them all done? No, but it helps me to have an outline of like, okay, I know on Thursdays I'm always talking about the podcast. And then I know like I want to make sure that I'm sharing my LTK links because I want to show people what I'm wearing and again, make money on that. And I want to make sure that I'm sharing like little corners of my home because I know it inspires people, but I also like know that I can monetize it. I share just like about personal things going on in my life because I'm an oversharer and I love a vulnerability hangover. Like these are just all of the content like pillars that I have. And then I just go create content on them. As far as actually like making the content, you're on your fucking own, honestly. Like it is the Wild West out there and there's no rules to play by. You can think that you've got the algorithm mastered one day and like the next day it is absolutely different. And so it's really just like shooting your shot and trying different things, making a reel, making a carousel, making something from Pinterest. There's a million content ideas out there and like, I'm not necessarily an expert on that. I've had like things go viral and I've had things get like 3,000 views and be like, well, okay, that didn't resonate. We'll try again tomorrow. So it's really just hit or miss and you have to be willing to fail every single day, truly. Honestly, like some days my Instagram stories will have 10,000 views and some days they'll have 2,000 views. And sometimes that's not, it could be the same content. Like you have to be willing to put it all out there every single day, show up. And again, people are going to think you look stupid. People are going to be like, oh, you see that girl? She's so cringy. She's doing that. Who the fuck cares? I am president of cringe. I could give two fucks if you think I'm chuggy, cringy, whatever. Baylor said something the other day. W, that means like cool. Like, oh, W, like a win. Anyways, I'm W, okay? Anyways, that is like my very short soapbox on content creation. There are tons of apps, tons of courses. Jenna Kutcher shares a lot of things on like, content. There's so many people out there. Just like with anything in life, if you want to figure out how to do it, like you have to actually do the research, do the time. Nobody can tell you like, oh, here's the 5 steps to becoming a content creator. Like that's up to you to kind of go in and like dig your heels in and figure out and do the work. And again, what works for somebody else might not work for you and vice versa. Number 2, shifting, how to navigate a toxic work environment and not give a fuck. It's simple. Just don't give a fuck. It's really super simple. Toxic work environment to me is, it is tricky. So I work from home. I don't work in an office and I have a very non-toxic work environment to be totally honest, but I have had moments where I'm like, this is stressful. Like even just going into the office feels stressful or having to sit in a Teams call with this person or whatever. And I think communication is your best bet always with any toxic relationship, whether it's in the office or in your home or whatever. Communication truly is like, the way I visualize it is like you have all these feelings that you're carrying and it's really heavy and it's in a backpack and you're lugging it around. You're sitting with it. You're standing with it. You're taking it to the bathroom. Like you are carrying it in every sense of the word. It's physically feels heavy. Emotionally, it feels heavy. It makes your back hurt. It makes your stomach hurt. Like you're hungry. Like you're carrying all of this stuff. And communication is, when you communicate, you're setting it down. You are putting it all down and you're eliminating 90% of the weight that you feel from it. Yeah, when you take it off, like your back might be sore and you might be a little bit like, whew, I'm tired, but you have set it down. That is maybe like the best way I could explain why like communication is so freaking important and it's hard to do, right? Like it's hard to take that backpack off and like set it down on the floor, but it will lead to so much clarity. It will lead to more peace. It will lead to more comfort. Like it will lead to so many different things. And so if you're having trouble with like somebody that's dysfunctional or toxic in your workplace, I think like being able to sit down and be like, hey, I'd love to have a sit down with you, like have a meeting. Maybe if you need to have like a neutral party there or your boss or whatever, and just like communicating like, hey, the way that like this is going is making me feel like this, using I statements like, I'm seeking to understand why, or I'm seeking to get to a place where we can meet in the middle or whatever. Like when you come at it, like you're doing this, you're a bitch. You leave the toilet seat up. You know, steal my food out of the fridge. There was like a thief. When I worked at Amazon, there was a thief that would take shit out of the fridge. Like that is filthy. First of all, ew, talk about an ick. But number two, like that is just absolutely uncalled for. I'm sorry. Anyways, if like, I think communicating with that person and then like seeing if it gets better. And if it doesn't get better, escalating it maybe to somebody else or, you know, the other tactic that you can do in this, and I think this has to happen after you've communicated something, is just to put your blinders on. Like sit down, do your work, and you know, obviously there's going to have to be interactions if you're working closely with that person, but like doing your best to put your blinders on, rise above, and just like continuing to repeat to yourself, like I got to do me. Like this is about me. This is about me making a paycheck and nothing else. And if that means swallowing your ego, then so be it. Like how many times in every relationship have we just had to swallow our pride, put our ego aside, and just like do the work, especially if it comes down to like, I got to make a paycheck. Obviously like the easiest thing would be to find a new job, but it's hard out there for a pimp. Let me tell you what, the job market is rough. So maybe don't quit your job. Okay. This is something else that somebody asked about, like social media and like the influencing world and whatnot, that I thought was kind of interesting. And it was like, how do you navigate like how much you spend versus how much you share? Like, right. Like I'm buying things often to share, and like how does that budget get imbalanced? And well, let me tell you, it gets really fucking imbalanced. I spend a lot more than I make on clothes and like things that I share. However, there are occasionally like a few like banger products that like I'll be able to share and make up a bunch of money on. But I just want to tell you guys this, and this is going to be one of the few things that I mention about this on the podcast, because I don't really want to like merge the worlds. But when you are on like, let's say LTK, and you are sharing affiliate links on LTK, like let's say I'm sharing something from Nordstrom. Nordstrom is a 7% commission rate. I'm not even going to fucking try to do the math on this, but let's just say I sell something for $100. My commission is $7 on that one item. Now, I'm now out $93. I don't know how many 7 times whatever I would have to make up, over 10 at least, to get to like to make even on that. And unless you have like a very loyal following who like spending a lot of money, like it is very, very hard to make a lot of money on LTK unless you've been doing it for years and years and you're extremely consistent about it and very strategic, right? Like I know that I can buy a $30 sweater and from Target, and like if it's the right price point, I might be able to make a little bit more. But like then I'm constantly at Target, constantly buying new things that I don't need, and like it's this whole cycle of consumerism and all of these things. I will live and die, and again, capital of cringe, I don't even fucking care. Network marketing has truly been like this is the reason I've done network marketing, is because I can do the same amount of volume, so to speak. I could sell the same like dollar amount of product and make a 5-figure income in a month. Whereas if I'm selling that amount of product on LTK, I might make $900 in the month or something like that. So like with Arbonne, I love Arbonne's products. And so it's something that's easy for me to share about. And I make a significant, I mean, when I say significant, like way more money, even if I didn't have a large social media following, like you can make so much more money selling that product than you can like a shirt or an object of, you know, like a house trinket or a coffee table book. I mean, on Amazon, I think it's like half the time you're making like 1.8%. If I sell $3,500 or $35,000 worth of product on Amazon, I might make like $700 to $800 in a month. If I were to do the same amount with Arbonne, like I might make, you know, $5,000 to $7,000 in that month. So it's very, very dramatically different. And I think that it's just something to note that like pay attention to like where you're investing your time and are you receiving what you put in basically. And, you know, again, like a lot of network marketing companies, you have to spend money to like get your paycheck. Arbonne's not like that. Like, so again, I don't want this will never turn into like an Arbonne podcast because I keep these two things very separate. However, it's one of the things that I've learned in influencing over the years is if you have any sort of following, you can maximize 10 billion X, like what you're making with like, you know, brand deals or LTK, affiliate links, all that kind of stuff. Network marketing, like you can make a fuck ton more money on it. So that's my PSA about that. But yes, you have to be very cautious, very, very budget conscious. And most of the time I'm either sharing things that I already know I'm going to love and I'm wearing, or that are affordable for me and affordable for my audience. And there's a very rare occasion, but once in a while, for the Nordstrom sale, for example, like I might buy some stuff, try it on, and then return it, or like do a dressing room try on and stuff like that. There's like ways around it, but as a whole, it can be very expensive and a very slippery slope if you're not careful. Because, you know, you can be like, oh, I'm buying this because I'm going to share it. Well, you might make $12 off it and it costs, you know, $170. So like you suck at business at that point, right? We've all been there. Another question, navigating dating somebody with kids and baby mama drama. I'm just going to say maybe don't. This is maybe not a popular opinion. I don't actually know. I am going to be honest. I have never dated somebody with kids. Not one time. I have never been in a relationship with anybody with kids. And I say all the time, like, I don't want to date with somebody with kids. And then I'm like, bitch, you have 5. Like, who the fuck are you to talk? I don't know. I don't know how to navigate it. I'm probably going to have to figure that out at some point. I'm sure that path will cross in my life. Maybe it won't. I don't know. Maybe I should just date Kristen Cavallari's ex-boyfriend. He's 24 and single now. So, you know, he likes moms. Probably not, considering I think she broke up with him because he didn't have life experience. Anyways, I think that if you are going to do that, I think, again, communication is number 1, but number 2 is figuring out like how to know that that's part of your story and it's part of your relationship. Like you can't avoid it. Like my ex-husband will always probably be in some way, shape, or form like involved in my relationship because it involves our children. And if it involves our children, it involves both of their parents. And so like when Rob was here, like he met Rob, like they talked, you know, like they knew each other. And so yes, like the baby mama drama, like it's not your drama. I'm sorry, but like it is your job to support your spouse or your partner, not your spouse, like your boyfriend, I guess. What do we want to call him? Anyways, it's your job to support them through that, but it's also your job not to take that on and make it your drama because it's probably not your time or your place or your space to do so. And ideally, you're with somebody who has that kind of sorted out and like has set boundaries with that person. And as far as the kids, I don't really fucking know. TBD. I'll keep you guys updated on this because I don't know how to merge 2 families with kids. I'm part of that dynamic in my own life. My stepdad has children. My mom obviously has children, me, and my sister. And I grew up in a situation where there were stepkids, and I'm still very close to like all my siblings. So it's very possible and very doable, but I'm sure it takes a lot of like learning. I don't know why I picked this question because I don't actually know the answer, but at your service. Scout's honor. Okay, another question that we got, this is from our Jot form, which we have a link to. We'll talk about in a second at the end of the show. But she said, love your podcast, all that you share. My question is, are you religious? I've noticed lately more people sharing their faith, and it's got me wondering if it's like for likes or staying relevant, or if it's genuine and they're becoming more comfortable sharing that part of themselves. I think this is a great question. And something that I actually like loathe about social media is like the fact that you do have to ask, like, is this genuine? Are you doing this for like clout? Are you doing this for likes? Even like politically, like you'll see political campaigns like reach out to influencers and be like, can you share like that you voted for us or whatever? And I'm like, listen, there is not a day, it'll be a cold day in hell before I ever shared like who I was voting for. But I do think that like you see both sides of it. You see people that are sharing about religion because they like need something to talk about. And again, like it might make them feel relevant, or people do things just to like go viral or like have shock value. And then there's people that share genuinely because it's part of their story and it's part of their life. So to answer your question, am I religious? I grew up very religious. I played the keyboard at church. I was the pianist. Don't even worry about it. Every child worship song, Pharaoh, like they slap. I know all of them. I know the hand motions, all of it. I would not say that I am religious. I am spiritual. I believe I was raised Christian, like in a non-denominational Christian church. I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. I go to church occasionally, but I also find that like I find God or like spirituality like by myself at home in the quiet on a Sunday morning sometimes, or like out on a fishing boat or whatever. And I don't believe in like the mindset of like you have to go to church and like create this robust church community to like, you know, be religious and like be I fucking loathe the term good Christian. Like when somebody's like, well, you got to be a good, even at church they say it sometimes, and I'm like, get out. Nope, absolutely not. I will walk up and leave your church if you're talking about being a good Christian. The whole mindset that like you have to like you know, you have to surround yourself with the right people and be like, absolutely not. And I know everybody has like their own opinions, and I think there are 100 different ways to believe that are not that are right for you. And I have like a great acceptance for like everybody's different walks of life, everybody's different religions that they choose to participate in. And I think it's all beautiful, to be honest. I think any moment that you can like attach to a spirituality and like find a deeper meaning and a higher being is right, to be totally honest. I choose to believe in God, but there's people that choose to believe in other things, and I support that. And I actually think it's like incredible and beautiful, and there's something to learn from it. I don't really share about spirituality a ton. I mean, occasionally I'll be like, here's my church outfit of the day. And that's about the extent of my my religion sharing online. And it's not for no other reason than it's just like not something that I talk about publicly a lot. But you better believe like I'm talking to Jesus all day long. I'm like, all right, God, let's have a little chit chat. Okay. You've really fucked some shit up in my life lately. No. But interestingly enough, like there's people that are like, they get angry at God when like bad things happen in their life, or like they go through hardships. And I've always been the opposite. I was raised with a lot of hardship and a lot of grief, and my parents did a really good job. My dad was such a man of faith and did a really beautiful job of showing us that like in those times, that's when you cling to Jesus, not when you like run from that or like feel angry at that. And I've always embodied that and feel, even going through my breakup and going through my divorce and all these things, like my kids are like, wow, you're listening. This is the dead giveaway. If you want to know if I'm going through something hard, there is worship music blasting in my car. Bellamy's like, man, Mom, she said this on the way to school the other day. She's like, you really been listening to a lot of Jesus songs lately. You okay? I'm like, listen, CeCe Winans is my bitch. I live and die for worship music. That is probably where I find like the most peace and spirituality and like just closeness. And again, like in the hard times, that's like kind of what I lean on. So that's like my root of religion, if you will, to answer your question. Another question we got was intimacy. How do you keep it spicy and communicate your interest in doing such while trying to avoid letting the task of parenting swoop in and steal the mood most days? Well, you guys, I'd really love to fucking keep it spicy with somebody right now, but we're in a drought, okay? It's really just desperate times over here. But when I was in a relationship, I think that there are a lot of ways to do this, and it really depends on like where it's obviously like when you're in the middle or the beginning of like a dating relationship or whatever, like it's going to be spicy. It's easy to keep it spicy. I'm just going to go out and say it, Mom, plug your ears, but like I love sex. I love like everything that it entails. I love like feeling sexy and like I love, like spicing it up and I'm saying spice a lot. It's pumpkin spice season. But it does take like a level of confidence, number one, to be like, oh, he's going to want this. Like, I think that's a lot of women are held back by the thought of like, oh, is he really going to is he going to listen? Yes, absolutely. 100%. Like 100% of the time he wants whatever you are putting out. Like he wants whatever you have to offer him, whether it is just like some good old traditional missionary or like you want to get really fucking kinky with it. He wants it all. I promise you, I can assure you, I can speak for every man in America. He wants it, and Italy for that matter. So number one, be confident and just be like, I want to do this with you, or like sending like a sexy text, or again, Mom, plug your ears, but like a nude might be controversial. That shit does live forever, but it can go a long way. I'm just telling you right now. So sending sending a text is a really easy way to spice it up, and being like, I'm thinking about this, or I want to do this, or I have this idea, and kind of playing that up a little bit, trying to avoid letting the task of parenting swoop in and steal the mood. This is hard. There are seasons and reasons for like having like a lower sex drive, or just like a quieter sex life, or just more of like a mundane, like we got to get through the day. If you have a newborn, or like even just any baby that's like waking up in the middle of the night, sex is hard to come by when you're tired. I'm not going to lie. Like it is very, it feels like a chore and a task. And there were seasons of our marriage where like we really went through that, where it was like, wow, it's been a week. Okay. It's been 2 weeks. Now it's been 3 weeks. And it's just not a priority. So I think that like giving yourself grace for that, number one, but also again, prioritizing it. I've never been somebody that thinks like scheduling sex is great. But maybe scheduling yourself to like send a sexy text, and like, they used to say at church all the time, women are a crock pot, men are a microwave, is what they used to always say when they like would talk about like how to revive your Christian sex life or whatever. And while I say yes, like I also think that like giving like the lead up time is really important across the board. And men get tired too, and they're not always like in the mood, and they might be going through something at work or whatever. And so just like starting the conversation early, being really intentional about it. Amazon has a great selection of all sorts of things that you could ever want to spice up your sex life. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid of the things that vibrate, okay? They will help you. They will move you and propel you, literally and figuratively, into another era of your sex life. And so I think that's like, if I could say the number one like tip is like, bring something new in. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say not a person. If that's your forte, feel free, but it was never my forte. But I just think that like spicing it up, changing the dynamic, making a shift. If you're getting into bed every night and you're like, okay, well, let me take off my, my sweatshirt from middle school that is like ragged as fuck, and like, let's just, lay on top of me and slide it in. Like, it's going to be pretty fucking boring. And so you do have to be cognitive and like intentional about like shifting that and being like, no, actually, I'm not even going to go there. This is going to get inappropriate so fast. And then the last question that we'll answer, and I thought this was like a really fun, good one to end on. It is like the holiday months. And somebody was like, how do I make magic for my kids? Like it feels like there's pressure. It's expensive. And what I will say is like, lean into your gifts here, right? There's people that like go ham and they decorate their whole house with like Halloween decor and like do all of these things. And then there's people that like do all the crafts and stuff, and figure out like, stay in your lane essentially. Like you don't have to do all of it. Kids are so low maintenance at the end of the day. I buy Halloween paper plates. Okay. And my kids are like, oh, Mom, you're so festive. I put a Halloween napkin in my kids' lunches and they're like, this is the greatest day ever. You will not catch a fucking paper bat in my house for the rest of my days. Not a chance. I am sticking those tiny little square stickers on them. I'm not taping them to my wall. I'm not taking them down. I'm not dealing with them when they fall down. I'm not doing any of it. I will put pumpkins on my porch. There's not a pumpkin inside of my house, fake, real, none of it. I don't love like seasonal decorating when it comes to like Halloween. Christmas, we're on a different wavelength, okay? Like I love decorating for Christmas. But again, like I'm not the one who's like doing all of the Christmas crafts and like taking my kids to 1,000 like Christmas plays and all those things. Like we're going to go to like maybe a parade, and we're definitely going to go, to like a little like Christmas honky tonk or something like that. But like you just have to figure out what feels right for you and like let them live in the magic that you're creating in that space and not feel like the Pinterest pressure. I will never make a Pinterest like baked good that has like a face on it. That shit's going to be scary as hell. So you just really have to figure out like, what are your gifts? If your gift is baking, good. Make all the festive holiday things and don't worry about the rest. It doesn't take a lot. It takes little tiny things. And this is a total segue and side note, but I think this is like even in a relationship. One of the purest forms of love to me, and I've said this probably before, is like consideration and thoughtfulness. And it goes for the same thing with your kids. Like what would, I have kids who like love reading, like my little two like love reading. So like getting a couple holiday books will make them feel like very seen and appreciated and loved. I have kids who really love like when there's something special in their lunch. So I went and bought a bag of Reese's peanut butter cups in the pumpkin shape. Like it takes zero to no effort at all. And they're like, oh my gosh, our lunches are so festive. It doesn't take a lot. And we put this like massive pressure on ourselves. Again, kids or relationships, marriage, whatever, like it doesn't take these big grandiose gestures. It's little tiny thoughtful things that create magic in every single day, and that your kids will remember like, oh, my mom used to put a Halloween treat in our lunch. They don't know if it was like baked good or a Reese's peanut butter cup wrapped in plastic. Like they just are going to remember that you thought of them and you did something that was like simple and like made a difference in their holiday season or whatever. So again, same thing goes for Christmas. Like you don't have to buy the most expensive, most fancy gifts. I don't even put ribbon on my kids' gifts half the time. But if that's something that like is for you and like you are like, I love gift wrapping, that's how you can give the magic. So knowing yourself, knowing your gifts, and then being able to parlay them into creating magic for your kids and for your spouse, and everyday situations or holiday situations, I think can really impact. Anyways, okay, that's my Q&A. I will put up another Q&A box eventually, and we will do another one of these. But as always, there's a link in the YouTube show notes and on Spotify, and you can ask your questions in the Jot form there as well. And we'll chat soon. Thanks for listening to The Summer of Me. You can listen to episodes on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube. Come hang out and follow my chaos on Instagram @KendraForNow. See you next time.